Hey everybody. So I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee and I'm going to wait for people to join. So I'll be back in a second. I better just say that. Get comfy. Grab some coffee. So yes, who is this Two of Clubs? Going to be using Ascension cardology to figure this out. Okie dokie, Smokies. Hey, Ray. Okay. Oh, thank you, Ray. That is so sweet. He says, just want to say keep up the great content. Oh, that's if you're starting a business and there's a lot of beginning startup energy going. I have to remind myself every day, and this is especially true if you have fours anywhere. It's about building a foundation, and it's about consistency and showing up. And even if nobody's watching, just keep doing your due. And it's not it's not about how many people show up at any given point. It's that you're building a field. There's an energetic component to what's happening. So anyway, let's talk about Elon Musk. So I didn't prepare as much as I wanted to. I actually took pretty extensive notes when I watched the Netflix show, and I just hope I can find my notes. And if I can't, I will just riff on his ascending and descending hands. And I should find out how old he is. So let me grab my phone. Here and now, it's all it's about. Let's use it all, lose it, go and ask anybody. I've had Basha on my mind lately. Okay. Elon, I've done this so many times. ELON. Elon Reeve Musk, born in 71. So 2021 minus 1971. 2022. He will be 51. Is that true? Gosh, yeah, he will be 51 on June, so he's 50. Let's look up the Two of Clubs hand. No, let's just go to the chart. 50. Let's see, 40. Okay, so if this is 55, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so he would be the same as age 5. That quadration chart. There's the Two of Clubs. Ooh, let's just do this right off the bat. Let's give him a reading for what's up right now, and I'll go into history and a bunch of other stuff later, but this is just where I'm landing at the moment. So at age 50, he is displacing the Three of Clubs. So that is the intersection of Mars and Venus. I think that's one reason he's so magnetic, because he's displacing the Mars and Venus. No, is that yeah, it is the Three of Clubs, because it's where the King of Diamonds sits in the mundane spread. So if that's one of his karma cards, the King of Diamonds, this is all about him holding true to his values. And that's something that I'm just really impressed with. So my take on him, and my opinion, of course, is going to come through. So I'll just tell you from the get-go, I was just like so many people, they're just really skeptical. They're like, I don't know, which side is he on? And it's like you couldn't quite figure out where he was coming from. But one thing is for sure, he seems like an alien. And I think everybody can just sort of agree on that. It's like he could, there's this sense that he could be on either side. He could have any agenda. And at first I was like, oh, he's just a mercenary. He's just going to go with whatever serves him. But I think there's been a big shift that's happened. So I have to begin this also by saying I listened to Tarot with Janine, and because I really align with what she's been getting on him. This is my this is kind of my take. I'm not absolutely sure, like who can be, but my opinion is that there was this person named Elon Musk who was born into this family, and that the broad strokes that Wikipedia gives us are probably true. He was born in Pretoria, South Africa, and his dad, he says, is a very horrible person, and he's the eldest of 3 kids. And they moved to Canada after the divorce. The mom moved right away. He stayed with the dad for a while, and eventually they all moved to Canada. He went to college in Canada and then transferred to like Stanford and then got bored and did his own thing from there on out. So I studied the trajectory of his life, and I think that those broad strokes are probably true, but I think that there's a very good chance that the stuff that we're not hearing is, I mean, because he's of the elite. And when I looked kind of into his dad and his grandfather and grandmother and, you know, the on both sides, there's a lineage there of power and money, which just says 13 bloodline families to me. They are part of the very small controlling 1% that controls the planet. Okay. But, and I think some very terrible things probably happened to him. I know that children born into those families suffer a great deal. And they're put through just horrendous things because the most dangerous thing to this, you know, these organizing, you know, bloodline central banking families is to lose control. And what worse way to lose control than if somebody from within their ranks turns. So they're pretty effing mind controlled. And this happens usually through trauma. So I just know this to be true. And I think there's a really good possibility that's true because, man, I just dove in. Forget what I say I'm going to do. I'm just going to start talking. So Elon's father, this is what is said in Wikipedia. So what I am telling you, we're going to look at both kind of my gut feeling of who he is, my gut feeling of who we see versus the original Elon Musk, and what Wikipedia says. What the most fascinating thing of all right now is what he says on Twitter. It is fucking hilarious. I laugh every time I go in there. I'm like, yes, he's so freaking brilliant. Okay, but is it him that's brilliant, or is it something operating through him, or something that looks like him? That's my opinion, because the shape of the face is very different. And if you go online and you just type in images of Elon Musk, they don't want to show you anything but within the last like couple of years. And if they go back, well, and that might not be entirely true, but when they go back to when he was significantly younger, like in his 30s, he looks completely different. The shape of his head is different. His height and build is completely different. He used to be oval faced and kind of an egghead and fairly small, and now he's very square and big and tall. I could be wrong about all this, but this is just my take after spending, you know, a number of hours just kind of looking into this and watching a video. This is very interesting. Look for how Elon Musk's brain works, and it's a TED Talk. It's an interview that was done about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. See, I think these theories are really valid. So Raymond says, I think he could be a clone, but they are also into the occult heavily. Yes. Yeah, no worries. It's with elites, they have controlled information. They have controlled, you know, now there's CGI, there's just about any kind of technology magic they want to use. Plus there's the occult, as Raymond says, there's spells that they cast. There's all kinds of shit that they do. They're the gateholders for what we think, what we see, not what we think. They want to tell us and control what we think, but they control what we see, and they like to pull our levers and get us to feel this way or that way. Well, have you noticed how there's a big blowback for Elon right now? And in this interview, he says, they're like, what about Tesla? Are there any decisions you regret? And this guy was trying to get him to say something about Tesla. And he said, just for the record, I want everyone to know that there was a concerted short sale effort on Tesla stock. It has never happened in the history of the stock market ever. And I don't understand the stock market, but what they did was manipulate something to try to bankrupt Tesla. It was an attack on, I don't know, does he generate a lot of money from that? There was a reason that they attacked it. Why? Because he's a threat. Why is he a threat? We'll get into that later. That's my favorite part. my favorite part. So I started out kind of neutral, and now, especially with the position that he's in, with the shape of the world and the basic things that are happening right now, there is a drip drip of disclosure beginning to happen. And if you watch comedians like, ugh, I shouldn't be talking about this, but Bill Maher, Trevor Noah, Elon Musk, there are three voices that are standing in the middle and saying, what the F happened to the D party? What is going on? And Elon has this fantastic meme. I probably shouldn't be getting into this, but okay, this is a line between Democrat and Republican, and he located himself right here. And then it moved, so he ended up being right in the middle. And then they ran so far in the other direction with some really bizarre ideas that are just not, they just don't even make sense anymore. So he hasn't moved. He's like still right here. And then the D's over here calling him a bigot. He's like, what just happened? Like, I just didn't really ever change my philosophy, my perspective. He's doing a heck of a lot right now for moving electric cars forward for the environment. He's always been an environmentalist. He's very forward thinking. So, he's a common sense and very intelligent person. I think they controlled opposition, but there is also truth in their narrative, in my opinion. I used to be no questions asked Dem myself, but my eyes opened after Flint, Michigan with Obama. Wow. I was a huge Obama supporter too. Yeah, everything is racist with Dems. It's annoying. I know they've got like one answer. They've got a one-track answer for if you share a different perspective, you're a bigot or it's misinformation. And if they want to make the other half of the conversation, if they want to criminalize it, that's not democracy anymore. That's not an open forum. And that's why it is the greatest thing in the world that somebody who is so centrist, and he's going to upset both sides. And if it's a healthy democracy, that's normal. That's healthy. It's an expression of free speech. It's a very necessary conversation. And if we aren't allowed to have that conversation, how can we find the way forward? Each side has something to contribute, but something's wonky right now. And he's pointing some fingers in that. So the Two of Clubs is about conversation. The national conversation. So where was I? This is compelling. Raymond and I are having a really good time with this. And if I step on any toes politically, I'm really sorry. And I guess we're just going to all have to jostle around here and find a way to be okay with it. But let's get back to Elon being the two of... Okay, so the nugget that I wanted to give away that I think is the most important lesson from his life, it really is. It's become a place of intolerance, extreme intolerance. I was in Portland and I didn't feel safe. I said to my daughter, we were in line to see a movie, and I said, I don't feel safe right now, because if they knew what I thought and what I believed, I would not be safe. I know I wouldn't, So the party of tolerance is, it's like, you got to ask yourself, where's the love and the kindness in there for the national conversation, And I was a Democrat for a really, really long time, and I still have Democratic values. I just think something really wonky is up. You got to look under the surface and follow the money. So on that subject, people are like, he should do something else with all that money. It's like, did you say that about Jeff Bezos? Did you say that about Bill Gates? Were you upset about how they were spending their money? You're being fed that line. And if you quote it, he should do something else with his money, then you haven't studied up on him, because you look up the Wikipedia page and you just go to the section of like donations and charitable causes and stuff. That guy's giving away millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I'm going to ask my guides, where do you want me to go? They're saying go off of what you were going to say and then go into age 5. So this is what we're going to look at, because this corresponds to This is the chart for his age right now, and his card is right here. So we'll look at the descending and the ascending hands for him this year. But one of the biggest takeaways I got is that, okay, so the two of clubs in the, the traditional spread. I'll get that other one out here for myself. The two of clubs has the seven of spades as its moon card, right? Sorry, I get so frenetic when I'm disorganized and I don't. Okay, so here we go. So here's the two of clubs. They have to reckon with the seven of spades. Okay, whether it's a descending or an ascending hand. The seven of spades is what, okay, so for him, it's like this launch pad from childhood. There will be obstacles. There will be, is an extremely sensitive person, and there was some really big, difficult things that happened. And what Wikipedia says, he like won't even talk about him. He won't talk about his dad other than to say he's a horrible human being and he's done everything evil imaginable, everything evil that a human being can do. Okay, and then I looked a little deeper. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Good shopping. That's awesome. So his dad, after the divorce, he marries this other woman who has a little girl. And when that little girl grew up, he impregnated her and they have a child. And he acts like it's like no big deal. So you're like, okay, we got a Woody Allen here. What the F? You do not have sexual relations with somebody that you are a parent, much less she's 30 and you're 70 something. Just like, what the hell? So that gives you a glimmer of what could be under the surface. And then his mother was quoted as saying, his father abused us financially, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so when he has this story of, I got to Canada and his mom was like, we were eating spam and beans and, barely making it. I think that's true because she was married to an absolutely dark narcissist, very dark. When you think of the controlling elite, they're bad enough. But the white men in South Africa are some other kind of bad. Yeah. So I read enough into his dad about his history, the broad strokes, that's like, okay, I think this is probably true. He's really bad. So that seven of spades emotional launch pad, there were difficulties, there were struggles, but the king of diamonds under that was the controlling father. That was it's going to be this way. And he got sucked into living with him for a while and then, not jetted off. He made his way to Canada to be with his mom. So that's why he has kind of a muddled accent. So, and he was identified at a very young age as being different somehow. They thought he had an ear problem because he just had Asperger's. It was his focus, his attention. He was a very, very gifted child. Okay, so the seven of spades. This, I think, in my opinion, is the important card that has become his rudder. Okay, so how does the seven of spades show up in our lives? When we get the seven of spades, there's an obstacle of some kind in the physical world. Robert Kant says it's the sickness card, but more often than not, I've seen it be a self-righteous energy that says, this is how it has to be done. Okay, so that's his dad. This is how it has to be. Well, it became his, as he was turned that hand around and it became an ascending card, that seven of spades became, I think differently. That's the Mercury card. I communicate my intelligence to the world in a really alternative way. And I see the world differently. And then that king of diamonds sitting under that card really, I think, shaped again his direction of, okay, letting go of my dad and the tyrant that he was. How do I step into my king, my power? And he really, really has. And he had to go through a lot of failure. And this is the really exciting thing about Elon Musk. To me, this whole video came about because I wanted to talk about what he turned the seven of spades into. Okay, so he did all these startup companies, and then I think he bought out the company that, or worked with the guys that created what became PayPal, and then he sold that, and it was his first big chunk of money, and then starting SpaceX, and then the failure after failure after failure. And the third time it failed, this rocket failed, everybody he was working with he was like, that was the worst year of my life. And he's like, we got to do it again. And then they succeeded. And then it was success from then on out, got the NASA contract, and now there's a launch. There's constant launches. We have no idea what he's actually doing. In 2015, I think he had 3 startup companies in the same year, and it's like he's learned how to bend time. And when I read this book, I was like, he gets this. Find your zone of genius where you can bend time. When you are in your zone of genius, you lose track of time and you choose it and you say no to everything else. This is what I'm good at. This is what I want to do. This is my genius contribution to the world. And when you say yes to that, the universe kind of cooperates with you and things fall into place. They're trying to get out the Earth's atmosphere. Oh, thank you. Raymond is paying attention to what SpaceX is doing. So, and they did successfully get people, they shuttled some astronauts to the space station. So, a number of years ago, they did achieve that, but I know you're talking about something else there. Okay, so I think sometime after a bunch of failures, one of these guys that was working with Elon and everyone that was choosing to work with him at that time before it kind of exploded were really, there was a deep personal connection. There was a beautiful sense of possibility. And I wouldn't say they followed him. I think they caught the vision and then cooperated with him. And one of these guys said something like, we almost look forward to failure now because we're going to learn something. And suddenly I was that's the Seven of Spades. He reframed it. And he said, if I let go of my attachment to succeeding and I let it be what it is, that's part of the zone of genius is you state your intention, but then there's a yin yang. He's in a yin yang position this year. Yin yang is the theme for everything. I had a dream that I found this ring, and then the next day I found it. And my son had been doodling that shape the night before. He's 26. He doesn't live with me. There is something about that combination that makes everything work. Jupiter and Saturn is yin and yang. Saturn is yin. It's about contracting. Jupiter is yang. It's about expanding. Venus is about staying here in the internality of a relationship. Mars is what we do. Hi, Tanisha. Gosh, it's been an awful long time. So he reframed failure. And it became an opportunity to learn something. I think that is just freaking brilliant. I love that. Okay, so that's kind of everything I've been percolating and just had to get out there. But the Two of Clubs in itself represents an internal conversation. We know it's the conversation, I am of two minds, but it becomes, I'm talking to myself. How do I talk to myself? And if we look at him, as someone on the path of, getting on his own side, winning, the fact that he has the capacity. Hi, sweetie, I'm doing a live. The fact that he has the capacity to say what he does on Twitter and know that it's going to generate this big, huge backlash. And he's just like, whatever. Like he goes, I love chocolate milk. That was one of his tweets a couple days ago. And all the bots were on it. It's like, he's just like, there's a jokester in there. There's a trickster. There's a genius. There's a jokester. I like the jester part very, very much because being in this Uranus line, he has a level of non-attachment. And we can see that as, if you want to see the dark side of it, it's like flippant or careless or reckless. But I don't think that sometimes it's reckless and it's just dumb. And yeah, there is a backlash, and he's got Asperger's, so he's not always correctly judging, the social cues and how people are going to respond to this. But I think people with Asperger's, and I think that whole phenomena is this planet moving out of caretaking. This child cannot caretake you. Where are you now? Completely different relationship. It's a mirror. And here we have somebody on stage, demonstrating that, you know, God, who really cares? And he's on Joe Rogan and he takes a, puff of a doobie and he's like, whatever. And then I think there was some libel suit where there was a guy who was a total pedo, and he called him out. I think this was either in Canada or South Africa, and he called out this guy and labeled him, and it was the Thailand rescue, the rescue of the children. And he became so compelled about those children who were underground, which is compelling. Why was he so compelled by that? Child of an elite family. Oh, Tanisha, it is so good to see you. You have to remind me what your card is. Are you the Nine of Diamonds? I'm learning. So he built this thing based on his work with like underwater bathysphere type technology that they worked with in order to create the rockets and all the other stuff that they did in space. They always use a water environment, and so he launched this big rescue. Yes, and there was this total, I've got bad names in my head for what this guy was, but he was a very bad person, and he was successful in rescuing 8 out of 12 of the children before Elon got over there with his equipment. And this guy was a total dirtbag, wanted all the credit, and turns out he's a pedo. And so he called this guy out, and Elon got out of it by saying, well, in South Africa, like you'll say, oh, he's a pervert or a dirty old man. He's like, where I come from, that's a casual comment. It's not, meant to malign his character. And everybody's like, oh yeah, you were calling it out. Hello. His karma card is the Ace of Spades, which is what's behind the veil. Let's bring out the secrets. I'm just like watching myself do that. Anyway, so, and then he said, he got sued and whatever. I kind of forget who won or lost, but he was like, it was worth it. That one was worth it to call him that. And there's way more to that story than meets the eye. Some other tidbits that I've been noticing, or let's see. Yeah, and please, if you have any comments, questions, criticisms, if you can't stand Elon Musk, let me know. I just think it's fascinating that he generates pretty strong response from people. Used to be people were like, I don't know, he's curious, he looks weird, he seems to be really brilliant. What's this rocket going to Mars thing? I don't know. He's just headed to some other planet, literally. And if he's an elite, he does know that we've been on Mars for a long time. He knows that we've achieved zero gravity. He knows the secret space program. I'm guessing. How can he not know? But he's doing this for a reason. Okay, it's exactly why JFK sent us to the moon, is because he knew about the secret space program from the late 40s. Werner von Braun and Project Paperclip, bringing all the German scientists over to all that. But he did the launch to the moon to reveal, that was going to be the beginning of him revealing the secret space program before it went any further. Without our knowing what it was. Well, we saw what happened there. So I think that's why he's doing the rocket thing, is let's talk about space. Let's talk about Mars. Let's talk about rockets. Let's get everyone their attention back on the possibilities that are out there. Like maybe we could mine asteroids. Well, we have been for a long time. So I think he's like a JFK voice in that way. Gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself again. So that Seven of Spades that's a big deal. And then that King of Clubs, when he turns it around, and instead of being the dissension hand, the Two of Clubs being the brainiac and advertising their intelligence and talking about these whatever, and I don't know what he was like before. I think he's always been kind of an introvert. But When this becomes the moon card and they go in the other direction, that's where their confidence comes from. And it's not just, I know a lot, it's, I know myself, I know my story. Excuse me. My guides are like, what sits under that King of Clubs? Why, Raymond's card does. It's the Two of Spades. It's the friendship card. It's a Uranus vibration. The Two of Spades is his descending Saturn. Big relationship here to the Two of Spades. It is the Uranus vibration. Uranus is a very, very big deal when it comes to Elon Musk because it's unconventional, it's forward looking, it's revolutionary, it's unexpected, it's all the things that are Uranus. And I bet you anything, if you studied his astrological chart, there would be 11th house stuff, there would be Uranus stuff. So, hey, let's look at his Uranus card. 8 of Hearts. That's power, that's healing, that's emotional strength. And I really think he's had to develop that. Let's see, what's his ascending Uranus? That would be the 7 of Clubs. I'm telling you, look at this. I think this is Ascension astrology. I mean, this Ascension cardology. When I see things like this, I'm like, yes, I think there's something to this. So if you take the 2 of Clubs and you do the Ascension hand and you go Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. Let's see, Mercury, Venus, Mars. He has a past life karmic relationship career-wise with the United States. He's righting a wrong. I just know it. He's righting a wrong. He might have really fucked up in a past life with this country, and I get that he might have been, I'm getting Dutch elite. He might have been one of those guys that said no to Benjamin Franklin when he was like, we need funding, we're having a revolution, we need some help. I don't know. That's just kind of what I get, is that he was definitely deep state dark cult bloodline family in a past life, and he's righting a wrong, and he's like, okay, let's bring back this thing called free speech. And y'all who are just like, splitting a, what's a phrase for that? Splitting a gasket, blowing a gasket, are a demonstration of how much we love our free speech. That was my comment under that tweet. So anyway, so if we look at this Uranus card, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, the 7 of Clubs is the genius card. They know how to get over the obstacle in the thinking. Where is the 7 of Clubs? Okay, so that is divine Uranus and Saturn. Saturn asks, what is the purpose? Uranus says, divine Uranus is the Christ consciousness. What is the purpose of Christ consciousness? It's to find a new way, something different, new, unfamiliar. That's why he's so Uranus, and that's why he's so triggering. That's why people were kind of neutral about him. I'm on to something here. It's because he's in the Uranus line. That's the broad stroke here. We can't decide which side he's not on any side of the fence. He's just where he is. And he posted this meme, and I thought this was so, so significant. So here he is. He was just left of center. This is Democrat, Republican. And then the Democrats went a little further this way, which made him kind of like right in the middle. But then when the Dems went way the hell over here, he's like, I haven't moved. And now I'm being labeled as a bigot or a, whatever. He's a threat. He's a threat to the establishment because he invites people to think, and he just put out an invitation to be, he's like, take a sampling of your own Twitter following, and there's a way to find out how many people are bots. There were accounts that had 100% bots and no real people, and I think the president of Mexico was one of those. And other people are like, I have 56% bots. So it's no 15%. It's a control mechanism. It's to control the conversation. So we get the 2 of Clubs in there to say, I'm the king of conversation. I am the conversation. I've been having a conversation with myself all along, and I fall on both sides of this equation. I think enterprise is really important, and I think the environment is really important. Isn't that great? Just love that. Okay, so he has got the genius card in the genius position. Ascending Uranus is the 7 of Clubs. Genius card. He brings forth that which is unexpected. That's just channeling. Wow. And then he has that 9 of Hearts there. Three of Spades, Pluto to actualize. Three of Clubs is cosmic lifetime reward. And to be a father, there's a big connection there. Being a father for him is a really big deal. So the Two of Clubs sits under the King of Hearts, right? So, and the Three of Clubs is the ascending lifetime cosmic reward. So how I'm getting that is if you ascend from here, then this is ascending Pluto, ascending cosmic lifetime reward, which sits under this. There's always a partnership between these two cards. Somehow the Two and the Three of Clubs and these two kings, they come as a pair, I think. So yeah, I think being a father is a really big deal. Let's just throw this in there. I had no idea that this was true, but when I was researching just the timeline, I wrote down a timeline and just all these events that happened in his life and when they happened. And I meant to go through and actually look at the card system and suss it out. But I did find something about the Seven of Spades that I'll share in a minute. But he lost an infant son. His first wife was his high school or college sweetheart from Canada. And they had a baby and he died at 10 days old. And of course, it made me wonder about the elite families and sometimes what they require. So I don't know, but he went through that experience in a pretty public way and they didn't know how to grieve. And so they went and got in vitro right away. They're like, we're rich. We don't have to deal with death. We can find a way around this. And so they went and got in vitro fertilization. And they're like, well, we might as well just do, get a 3-for-1 since we're doing it. And so they got triplets. And then they did it again and got a 2-for-1. And now they have twins. So that's why he has 5 kids from his first marriage. And then when he was with Grimes, he had 2 more. X, who's a boy, and Y, who's a girl. Isn't that curious? Because girls have the X chromosome, but her name is Y something. Boys have the Y chromosome, and the boy is named X. So yes, maybe there's a transgender thing. Maybe there's a transhumanist thing going on there. I don't know. But it's interesting how he's playing with duality and the two sides. Okay, now I'm going to look at the Ascension. So for the cardologists, you might be able to follow this, and for the people that don't follow cardology, just deal with the blah blah ginger for a while. Okay, so if we take the magic circle, the order of the cards, like if you go to the position of the 8 of diamonds, you say the card under it, where's the Queen of Spades? Then you find the Queen of Spades, you go, what's the card under it? The 10 of diamonds, what's the card under it? The Queen of Clubs. That's the magic circle. And the chart that we have, the mundane chart, is based on clicking to the left. And what if you clicked to the right? If you clicked to the right, and yes, it is the 43rd, because the 44th is the pure spread, the natural spread, right? The 43rd, when you turn 44, but this is the 44th year. Just like there's a 0 year is the first year, the 43rd year is the 44th year. And I think that 44 is much more significant in this system than we know yet. It's a sacred number. So 44 positions before you come back home. So when you click it in the other direction, this would be considered the Ascension Grand Solar Spread. So just hang on for a minute. So that gives us 4 possible hands, doesn't it? Wait, L. I seen that name, their kid after what is it? Plane. It was a Joe Rogan clip of him naming his son, so to speak. Did you say, is it CIA plane? Yeah, it's very, very odd, wasn't it? That whole naming thing. It's like, is that just how his brain works? It's because he's an alien, or is it a comm of some kind? Or I have no idea. But that was just my little takeaway from it, was the X and the Y, and I know it's more extensive than that. But okay, so let's just take this Ascension So, okay, there's the regular spread. We have descension and ascension. We've got the pure spread, descension and ascension. We now have this ascended grand solar spread, ascending and descending, and you have the magic circle, ascending and descending. You have 4 descending and 4 ascending. Could it be that the 4-4 is showing up again? Okay, so, and I know this is just kind of weird to follow. It's okay. Let me just give you the goods. If this is a thing, let's find the 2 of clubs. He's sitting, oh, okay, he's sitting in Venus, Uranus. There's Uranus again. Okay, so in this final spread, before it clicks over to the pure spread, he's sitting right here in the Venus-Uranus intersection, where we think of the 9 of Spades sitting, and or in the pure spread, the King of Hearts. So there's that relationship with father again, and being a father. That's a big deal to him. And he takes it very, very seriously, partly because his dad was such a fuck up, and he saw the impact. I'm just tuning into him. He saw the profound, lifelong impact of that, and if it weren't for his mom, who I think is very quite possibly transgender from birth. She's one of those people that, like Sophia Loren, like they just look, if you just consider the possibility that they were given drugs from the beginning. It's the whole Baphomet religion that the elites are into. It's just, ugh, it's gross. But anyway, nonetheless, his mom is a really groovy person. She is a freaking groovy person. I love her. I really do. She looks so strange, though. Nothing like Elon. And then you go, if he's a guy, if she's a guy, and she wasn't the mom, which makes sense why none of them, well, the daughter kind of looks like her, but anyway, we're getting far afield. So the 2 of clubs sitting in this position, the 7 of spades shows up in the ascending hand. So Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So if you take this and you go ascending, so this is the ascending solar spread, ascending hand, ascending. That's my little system. So Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, 7 of spades. Ascending Saturn is an invitation to mastery. What does Raymond have to say? I was typing too fast. I think it's in relation to transhumanism, but go on. I'm listening. I'm off in 8 minutes to fully tap in. Oh, Raymond, I'm just so glad you're sharing space with us here. So ascending Saturn. Okay, so if you study the cards and you want to look at your ascending hand, it's a choice that you have when things come into your life and you're really self-actualizing and you're like, this is the highest potential that I think I've ever reached in this particular area of my life. Like say it's, oh, I reached a place of non-attachment with my partner, and that's just such a massive victory for me. Well, 7 of spades would be my ascent. I just channeled something for myself. It would be my ascending Mercury, ascending. My mindset would be one of complete faith and complete non-attachment. So his invitation is to complete faith and complete non-attachment. So obstacles get reframed as opportunities. Let's just drop our attachment because that's where the suffering is. You see him sweating bullets when he's watching these launches early on in SpaceX. It's very curious for some reason for me to watch somebody with Asperger's to go through stress, because you can feel it, but you can't really see it or hear it, but you feel it. Then that's the Netflix. Watch the Netflix video. I think it's well done. I think it's really, really well done. Okay, so let's look at some other aspects here. They're saying look at descending again. Okay, so a lot of where this impression of arrogance comes from, the hubris. If somebody doesn't like him, they'll call it hubris. If somebody does like them, they'll just say he's a little cocky. I think it's entertaining myself. comes from the King of Clubs in Mercury. Well, isn't it obvious? I know what I know. That's just the shadow side of the King of Clubs. And of course, it's the brilliance. The Venus card is the Jack of Diamonds, so there's a natural love of the United States there. And I really think, just think about this, you guys, having been born and raised in South Africa, okay, it's a whole different thing down there when it comes to racism and a classed society and the distance between the classes. And like, I really, 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 really love the movies. The Gods Must Be Crazy. So that gives you a total different face of South Africa that's very lighthearted and entertaining. But, ugh. So he's born in a big city and is exposed to this, and then, gets to Canada and then moves to the United States. And, I think that's why he picked up and left California and took his business to, it's like, nobody is going to fucking tell me that I have to do such and such for such and such. I am not going to comply. My heart is about freedom. Okay, so let's look at the Jack of Diamonds in Venus as more of a personality thing. I love to introduce a new value system or entrepreneurship. It's a pleasure. There's a heart connection for him there, and obviously he's never done anything else. Okay, Mars descending, Four of Hearts. So the Four of Hearts and Four of Diamonds, that pair of Mars, Mars and Jupiter. So that's the foundation building. The Four of Hearts, I think, indicates, especially in a masculine position, the Mars card will represent, in Jungian terms, for each individual, the anima and the animus. The anima, I think, is it's like the feminine aspect of the psyche, the masculine aspect of the psyche. And whether you're a woman or a man, you have both. So the Four of Hearts was his masculine psyche growing up as a child, the descension hand. And it's an extremely tenderhearted and insecure vibration. And I can just see him, being, I mean, if he was raised in a family like that, with a dad like that, it's like, gosh darn it. Okay, the Four of Spades sits under that, which is the clairvoyant card. And it's a card of security. So okay, here's the formula for that. All fours are a homeopathic dose of insecurity so that you manifest and create your self-sourced security. It's like getting an inoculation. You get a little bit of the sickness or whatever so that your body develops antibodies. Like, oh, there's an enemy in the gates. Everybody rally. And it's like, just kidding. But now we have all of these conscripted soldiers to protect the gates, your white blood cells, whatever, your antibodies. So when there is insecurity, it is a call to ask yourself the question, okay, who are all my soldiers within me that create a sense of security for me? Okay, what makes me feel secure when I follow through on my promises to my inner child? What else makes me feel secure? Routine and showing up consistently. What else makes me feel secure? My friends who say they love me no matter what. And it's different for all of us. But when you figure out what those things are and you enact them for yourself, you have realized the four energy that is showing up for you. You've answered the call. Little card teaching there. Okay, you guys, and feel free to please, throw in questions, comments, observations, and if there's something, you're like, hey, what do you make of this or that? Let's talk. What's his planetary ruler, you may ask? Well, since he's June 28th, he's a Cancer, right? Which means the Seven of Spades or the King of Clubs, if he's ascending or descending. If he's descending, it would be the Seven of Spades, which then brings in the Nine of Diamonds, which totally explains an experience of loss in childhood, or like the bottom dropping out, or, and who knows, maybe that's one reason he manifested a lot of failure in his life. The bottom dropping out. He's making friends with that. And I think that he's discovering the Fool archetype, which is Let's just see what happens. Let's just let go. Let's just trust the flow. And that's the magic of a genius, is that they know how much yang and how much yin, how much agency and action, intention, how much receptivity, allowing, and flow. I just think that's like one of the underpinnings. That's a real underpinning of his card, his persona, because in the pure spread, he is sitting, oh no, I got that wrong before, the Mars Venus, that's the 3 of clubs, which is, that's an ascending card for him. But anyway, the 2 of clubs sits in. So let's talk about the pure spread. You know, in our study of cardology, I'm just going to put this out there again. I am not inclined to study the pure spread, and I don't know why. I really think we ought to do that more, because the way I found myself explaining the 44th year to people, or when you turn 44, it's actually your 45th year. Think about that for a minute. It's your 45th year. You've reached an apex, a completion of some kind. It's the 44th, you know, which is the pure spread that shows up for you. But there's a completion there, isn't there? And what I've told people is that you are getting energized, and I think very potentially the 44th year is more important than the 45th. You're getting energized with the blueprint of who you are and why you came here. So let's look at that. Okay, the 2 of clubs sits in the position of Mars and Mercury, under the King of Hearts. So what is Mars Mercury? Divine, what I call the vertical Mercury. When it's vertical, I'm playing with the idea that it's the divine Mercury. So divine Mercury, 2 of clubs. What is divine Mercury and horizontal Mars? How does divine wisdom and truth show up in action in a practical way on the planet? Well, I think I just gave a tiny mini little portrait of Elon Musk. Truth, divine truth in action. So, yeah, he's not perfect, but he had a really rough beginning. He really, really did. And I went from envying the elite to being, after I learned what they go through and the kind of really, really dark shit they're involved with, and how much the children suffer and how much they're mind controlled, I went from envying them to being like, oh, I am so lucky to just be kind of your average, ordinary, whatever. Because that we have the most freedom. We have the most freedom of anybody. I think his freedom has been carved out, hard won in a lot of ways. So any other final comments or questions? And I'm guessing Raymond is on the verge of being free of work and being available. But, whoever's watching, I'm not going to trust the view count. In fact, I should just put a little piece of tape over that and just, do my due. Do we have any other requests, questions? Let's look at some things. If we look at the pure spread, his descending hand is all clubs in the Mars line, which is the practical application of knowledge. Hello? The genius. Oh, I know what I was going to say. This is totally off the subject, except for the fact that today is the 3 of diamonds. I figured something out. I've been waiting I should have just asked, right? But I waited. I've been waiting my, whole card life to learn what the 6 of hearts is really about. So the 6 of hearts, it kept showing up in this reading that I was doing with somebody today. And my guides immediately are like, 6 of hearts. And it's where she was going next month. And it's an all year displacement card. So I was like, okay, let's look at, it's in the Mars position. And the message for her was claim your agency. And then you won't feel so subject to the energies around you. Claim your agency and your passion and make this wedding an act of agency rather than, I'm just kind of going through the motions. We got to do the thing. So when she heard that, everything shifted. And I know that's why she called me. That's why she scheduled a reading, was for that little bit that was going to push her over the edge into a place of, wow, I feel really good about this. Now this is an act of self-actualization of writing out of my own vows. And this is what I'm committing to. Okay. I'm not committing to that big paradigm out there called marriage. I'm defining it for myself. And so that's agency. Six of Hearts is agency. And we think of it as karmic relationship or whatever, but think of it in the highest possible sense. You've agreed to something on a heart level, an essence level. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to commit to this thing. Not karmic, but planned, agreed upon. It's an agreement, it's a contract. What is the essence of a commitment and a contract? Is passion. You feel really passionate, and that's the highest vibration of Mars is devotion, passion and devotion. That's why we get sex and military. Yeah, okay, so today's the Three of Diamonds. Who sits in the house of the Six of Hearts? Who do we know that is a Three of Diamonds? Keep that in the back of your head. So the Three of Diamonds in the mundane spread sits at the intersection of divine Uranus and horizontal Mercury. So divine Uranus says what is divine Christ consciousness, and the revolutionary, the rebel, the divine rebel, and Mercury is about planning consciousness and seeing the game board, the knowing. And it is a dance between the yin and yang. So I know what my plan is, and I've got an idea of what I'm going to do. That's the agency. But the divine Uranus is like, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just have a listening session, shall we? Let's just sit back and think about this. Let's just go with the flow. I've done my planning. There's this book called The Healing Wisdom of Africa and the Dogon Tribe. Oh my God, it's one of the best books I've ever read in my life. And it was required reading at Naropa. And this, the initiation that they have to go through in their tribe is to sit in front of a tree until they see the spirit of the tree, until they can see into the other dimension. And they also see little forest gnomes and stuff like this. And there's a lot in there about ritual. And the author says, while the ritual is being planned, it is in the domain of the self. Once it begins, it's in the domain of the divine. And you just enjoy the ride. Okay, so going to read a comment. Six of Hearts is so confusing to me. Is it a contract or a covenant? Covenant requires trust, where contracts indicate no trust. Yeah, isn't that the truth? Well, there's always the ego in habitation. There's the obligation, the caretaking, the fixer, the giver. You know, we see those manifestations with the Six of Hearts. I'm going to give all my life, energy, and love away to you so that I can survive. Yeah, it's the caretaker. And I would say that's more like a contract. It is a contract with your survival contract as a child. That's like, I have to give away my life energy in order to make you okay so that you can keep me fed and alive. That's a contract. And no, there's no love there. It's all fear-based. So yeah, I like your parsing of words. I am a wordsmith. So I like the sound of the word covenant. To have a covenant with your soul. I am going to earth and I covenant, I promise, to be this person in your life. Whether that's the alcoholic, the teacher, the perfect foil, the life partner, the healer, you know, the child, the mother. I covenant to play this role. And if you've heard of that guy, Neil Donald Walsh, he wrote Conversations with God. He also wrote this wonderful, beautiful, like children's book. I think I might have given it away. It was so beautiful, I had to buy it. And I usually don't buy books brand new, like I go to thrift books or something, but it's a story of how this little angel said, I wanna become brighter. I want my light to shine brighter. And Divine Source said, well, I know a way you could gain more light. You could shine brighter and enjoy this oneness and this joyous experience of being God with me. you could go to Earth and learn how to forgive. You have to forgive somebody. And the kid's like, yeah, I want to do that. He goes, but you're going to need someone and something to forgive. And so everyone's like, oh, I don't want to play that role. And then this little girl said, I love you so much. You're my favorite person. I'll do this for you. I'll be the one who betrays you so that you can learn forgiveness. And it's so powerful, isn't it? It's such a reframe. Such a reframe. So the covenant that has to exist between two souls that lead to the Seven of Hearts. And this is the magic of the cards sometimes is, yes, there is a relationship between every two cards that are next to each other. It's very cool. Like a 5 is like, where are we going? Let's go somewhere. And the 6 is like, I'll tell you where we're going. The 6 is the destination. The 5 is like, yeah, it's the journey. Okay, so I think oh, yeah. Oh, just love it when people participate. I'm like, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna stay here. But I think we've kind of covered Elon. So wait. I want to go back to the 3 of Diamonds being today. Did you have any brilliant ideas today? I had the brilliant download about what the 3 of Diamonds and the 6 of Hearts is, which was like, God, I waited 30 years for that. It's like, whatever. Rumi is like, whatever. So you just woke up. Whatever. It does not matter how long you have been asleep, he says. Let's talk about the Ace of Spades before we go. The 2 of Clubs sitting in the what I call the Ascension solar spread. It's ascending Uranus card. The ascending genius is the 8 of Hearts that shows up again. Okay, in the descending, the 8 of Hearts is Uranus. In the ascending, the 8 of Hearts is Uranus. So that's going to the next level. He may find himself in the position of a healer. He may take a totally different role at some point. But what is the karma card to that 8 of Hearts? It's the 7 of Hearts. He will become a genius in the arena of forgiveness, perhaps, if he keeps with his soul development. So that's very exciting. But anyway, I'm going to close it out now. It has been absolutely wonderful sharing space with you guys. I love sharing space with people. So have a really great day. And tomorrow's the 2 of Diamonds. Be your own business partner and say to yourself, what do I want? What do I value? What do I desire? And then say to yourself, I want to get that for you. I agree. Let's be business partners. Okay. You have a great day too. Bye.